they officially announced Islam MAkhachev versus Beneil Dariush. Khabib has some comments. He said they deserve to fight for the title. Dariush and Islam, these two guys are better than Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. It's just my opinion. Well, Khabib, you're right. It is just your opinion, but you are kind of on track. You know, he is kind of. Maybe they are better right now at this moment. I can't say they're better than Dustin Poirier. Stop.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me give it there. I can't say they're better than Dustin Poirier. The reason why I say this, though, is Khabib, he trains with Islam. He's fought Dustin, and I think he understands it. And without being a homer, I think he understands that the tools that Islam brings that will nullify whatever Dustin does. Whatever issues that Khabib had with Dustin during that moment with those fights, I think he understands that Islam is better than him in all those areas. Now, I can understand. Now, as far as Justin Gaethje, he's fought him as well, Khabib has. And I think we already have seen the wrestling itself will not be a factor. Islam is the better wrestler. And I got a lot of flack over the fact that I said this Dagestani, Russian style, Sambo style wrestling is not like American wrestling. People criticize me, and then just like I think even Luke Thomas talked about it with Brendan Schaub on one of the shows that they did together. And it's basically, I was vindicated by saying, look what happened, you know, and in that type of wrestling, Khabib's wrestling was more dominant. Islam's wrestling is just as good. It's a different style of wrestling that is going to throw Justin Gaethje off if they were to fight. Now, I can't speak a whole lot on Beneil Dariush. What? You got something to say on that?
Yeah, well, I do. I'm going to say, here's your difference. I'm not saying that Islam is not very good with his wrestling. He is. I'm not saying that he's maybe not just as good as Khabib in that area. What I am going to say is, and you can say whatever you want, I can prove it in fights in watching them. There's a difference in their mentalities, and that's where Khabib has it way over Islam. Khabib walked through Justin Gaethje, walked through him. He did something that no other fighter has ever done to Justin. He put Justin on his back foot and then his other back foot. And he had Justin exhausted from moving backwards, trying to throw shots, and had a guy that was just walking through his shots. No one had done it. Can Islam do that? I don't know. I don't know that he can. And that's the difference.
Here.
Go ahead.
I get what you're saying. Islam, though, is someone that can shoot from 5 feet away, snatch a single, and suck him up because he's so much stronger than Khabib. And I'm splitting hairs here. Like, what I mean by so much stronger, when you're talking the top 1% of fighters, okay, which is Islam and Khabib and Justin, he is, when you're talking about Khabib and him, when I say so much stronger, it's like 2%. Maybe he's 2% stronger. 2% that 2%, huge. Though, is huge when you're talking the 1% of the top fighters. He will grab the single, he will suck it up, and when he gets to that position, he's going for a ride. And we saw how easy it was for Khabib to get the takedown. And when he got the one takedown, it became easier and easier. And that's what I think that's what's gonna happen, I think, again to Justin Gaethje if he was to fight Islam. I can't speak on Beneil Dariush at all because Beneil is someone who is so well-rounded. So is Islam. But Islam knows what his bread and butter is. I can't tell you what Beneil Dariush is, what his bread and butter is, because he's so damn good everywhere. He's got good stand-up, but it's wild and crazy and leaves himself open. He's got good jiu-jitsu, but he sometimes will make mistakes and put himself on bottom. He's good off of his back, and he's good at getting up. But will he be able to do that against someone like Islam? The other thing is Khabib, Islam, Dariush, all of these guys, at some point in time, I believe, I don't know this for 100%, but I believe that they have all kind of trained. When they do the Dominance MMA events, when they do like these big press conferences and all this stuff, you mean to tell me that none of these guys have trained together? There's a little bit of that they know. You know, and so I think in these terms, like I think Dariush has a better chance than most at beating Islam because he is so wild and crazy. He throws shots from different angles. He's awkward. That's going to be a tough task for him. Someone like a Dustin Poirier, however you want to say his name. People keep giving me a hard time the way I say it. Someone like a Dustin Poirier and somebody like a Justin Gaethje that are very straightforward fighters. Okay, they come forward, straight combinations, kicks. Sure, they threaten the submissions. They're a lot easier to figure out than someone like a Dariush. Okay, like a Tony Ferguson was so hard to deal with because everything came from weird angles. Things were jumping elbows, jumping punches, rolling, roll away, double leg takedown defenses, shit like that. Those are people that are hard to deal with. Dariush doesn't have quite that kind of craziness that Tony does, but he throws things from different angles. He'll roll for submissions. He'll do those things that will pose a problem for Islam, because Islam will not. They really don't train with guys like that do crazy, funky stuff. You know, they will, they can, they just don't. It's not in their repertoire of stuff that they do. You know what I mean? So that, I think, is this fight. I think is gonna be one of the best fights of the year because of this type of interaction between the two of them. One is very, very good wrestler. One is very good submissions. He's got good stand up. You know, Dariush is wild and crazy and does things from different angles and is good off of his back as well as good as on top, but he leaves himself open. So it will make for a very fun fight.
It will. It's a great matchup. And again, we talked about it. I think it puts whoever is the winner of this in a position, like, they could almost jump that line. They can call out Justin Gaethje and say, hey, no, you don't get the next shot. Look, let's go now. And then we'll see who gets the next shot. So it's a way of cutting the line.
I think Dariush will probably just wait for his title shot and
nice.
have Justin just fight for the title next.
Just
and be like, I'll just wait. If Islam wins, he calls him out. He says, Justin, hey, let's just settle this. Let's just you and I fight before we fight for the title. We both just fought around the same time. Okay. This title fight's coming up here shortly. Both of us have just fought. I think that's why.
So how much
this fight?
How much will Ali get in the way of that, since he manages both of them?
I don't think he will.
You don't think he will?
No, I think
you don't think he'll be making calls saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's just do this, and we're going to make money."
No, I don't think he will. No, I really believe when it comes down to these type of situations, Ali just says, "Look, if you want to fight and you want to fight, then you guys need to fight." That's it. Like, I'm just here to be, like, I've already done my contract negotiations when it comes time for you guys for your contract negotiations for you guys' big paydays. Now, when it comes down to you two fighting, I can negotiate the terms in terms of it being a main event, in terms of it being a pay-per-view, whatever it is. But I don't think he gets in the way of those type of things. He understands that he's got the best stable of fighters right now in the whole game. You know, if you talk about the top fighters in the game, he's got a lot of them under his management. And so in that case, he's got to understand, I think he does understand, and these fighters need to understand, he really just needs to just stay out of the way and let the chips fall. Because if the UFC calls and says, hey, we want Justin and Islam, he's going to go, I prefer not to. I'd like to have them both fight for the title.
Yeah.
You know, I prefer not to. But he also understands Dana White. Dana's like, I need that fight. That fight needs to headline something, because I need something to headline on this date, on this time. And I have things I got to get done. And that's how the UFC needs to work. They run like an organization that needs to put on fights. And that's all they got to do. So if he says, hey, I need Justin, I need Islam to fight, because what happens if Oliveira and Dustin Poirier are a great fight and then they want to run it back?
True.
Then what? Like, you can't wait on that. So
Too many scenarios.
Too many scenarios to do, but I think that I think Islam ends up beating Dariush. It's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be better than most people expect. It's going to be a good fight. But I think if Islam wins, I think he calls out Justin. If Dariush wins, I think he lets Justin have the title shot and he slides in right behind for the next title shot.
100% agree.